Good evening, everyone. I'm Rashmi from greytHR and today's moderator of the session. First of all, I welcome all of you today to our 41st Ask the Expert webinar, Parichay. And as you all know, the topic for today is best HR practices to improve employee experience in 2023. Well, before I dive into the topic and the discussion, let's do a little housekeeping on how the session goes. So the general instruction of the session remains same. It's as usual. That is, the session is divided into two parts. Wherein in the first part, we will have a discussion on our today's topic with our today's expert, Mr. Ashutosh, and followed by which there will be audience Q&A. I can say that audience Q&A is where time is all yours, dear participants, because that's when you can start putting across all your questions with respect to our topic of today and the discussion that we are going to have soon. And you can also get answers from our today's expert. All right. And also, if you're worried about missing out on any part of our today's session, not to worry at all, because the session is currently being recorded and the same will be shared with all of you once the session is done. All right. So without any further delay, let's start our today's session then. So as we all know, as we move to this 2023, organizational and HR leaders focus on a few key themes such as prioritizing DEIB at workplace. Now, what is this DEIB? I'm sure most of you are well aware of this, but let me just reinforce that. As you all know, DEIB stands for diversity, equity, inclusion, and belongingness. So it is not just about that, it's also about HR digitization and closing the skill gaps. However, there is specifically one topic that stands out the most, which should be the focus for HR professionals everywhere in 2023. That is nothing but expanding the employee experience conversation, right? So employee experience might sound simple, but it is a complex initiative that encompasses every experience an employee has while working with an organization, from the highs to the lows. It's all about the employees' perspectives of how well their expectations are met within the organization, especially in the pivotal moments that matter to them. So, what are organizations doing to provide a good employee experience? Where are the organizations lacking, and what HR strategies and practices can they adopt? So, in the next 1 hour, we are going to discuss this in length with the expert, Mr. Ashutosh Srivastava, Head of India HR, CLSA, and understand the best HR practices to improve employee experience in detail. But before that, let me tell you a little bit about Mr. Ashutosh. So as you all know, Mr. Ashutosh is the head of India HR at CLSA. He has a rich experience of 20 plus years with a motive to make organizations become an employer of choice. He is responsible for developing and executing human resource strategies in support of the overall business plan and strategic direction, specifically in the areas of succession planning, talent management, change management, organizational and performance management, training and development, and compensative competitiveness. Also, he has a proven track record in HR transformation with expertise in talent management, talent acquisition, HR business partnering, diversity and inclusion, CSR, employee policies, statutory compliance, innovation, and collaborating. So, Mr. Ashutosh, we are very excited to have you here in the session. Once again, welcome to this session.
Thank you, Rashmi.
All right, so with this, let's head towards the first part of our today's session, that is the discussion with Mr. Ashutosh. Mr. Ashutosh, to start off with, can you please help us decode what would be the focus of HR in 2023?
Sure, thanks for asking this. I think it is one of the most important discussions which is right now being shared in the HR fraternity, because while there are various school of thoughts, but predominantly what almost all the HR leaders believe in is that there is one seamless experience which needs to be given to all the employees whom you are onboarding, or for that matter, who are working for you. Corona had its own positives and negatives, but one aspect which it has taught us is that how digital platforms or digital experience can be enabled and enhanced. So I think the first priority for at least the people whom I have been speaking to is one uniform experience on all HR processes, enabling through digital platforms or digitization. So that's one. Second is definitely there is a change management which all organizations are dealing with. So this is nothing to do with I would say any process or any policy. It is more to do with mindset. The 2.5 years of the phase which we have crossed has left a lot of people with various kind of thoughts, various kind of turmoils, and what it leaves us with is questioning to ourselves. There are so many people whom you will, and especially being in HR, you meet up people, and priorities for people have changed in last 2 years. Some people who were not very passionate about their hobbies have inclined towards hobbies. People have started looking at life as overall well-being. Focus on health has enhanced. So the point what I'm trying to make here is that the mindset of people 3 years back was very different, and today it is very different. So, and it is yet to be explored, because your personal interaction, the time which you used to have with people before COVID-19 was far more than what you have today. So it's taking more time for you to understand what are people priorities and the mindset. So that is gonna be the second, I think, priority for HR, to understand the mindset, what actually are the engagement drivers for people. And it has expanded to a very, very significant level. So of course, it brings in the factor of diversity and inclusion as well, considering the fact that the dependence on the emotional quotient has increased far more compared to what it used to be before. So that these two things are very important. These are top two priorities. There is one more priority, I guess, which again is an outcome of the great resignation which we all saw. I think focus on the succession planning and upskilling of the middle management gonna take the front seat, because if we have to deal with certain situations, unexpected situations like this, then it is very important that how resilient as an organization you are. So dramatically, the focus on succession planning has changed. It has significantly gone up. Every leader wants to understand that if there is a attrition, if there is a movement, if there is somebody internally scaled up into responsibility, who can actually take the place for this particular person. So that will definitely also take the front stage. So that's my thought, Rashmi.
Sure. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, Mr. Ashutosh. So also, next point is, sir, do you really think that the conversation about the employee experience is important these days? If yes, then please tell us, why do you think so?
So definitely, as I said, the priorities for people have changed. It is more like what was expected out of an employer pre-pandemic was far, far less compared to what it is post-pandemic. Pre-pandemic, all the mammoth IT organizations and all big organizations would flaunt about their infrastructure, the facility, the canteen, the the meeting room, probably for that matter, transport, all these things at a junior level used to make a lot of difference for people. The materialistic requirement for people was far more compared to what it is today. So if you're giving a perk of a petrol allowance in your compensation, or for that matter, you are giving a car lease, you would be far more preferred, as a compensation structure compared to others. Almost 50% of the organizations today work hybrid. Now, in a flash, it has all gone down. Whatever used to be your competitive advantage, great infrastructure, fancy offices. There is WeWork, which has made mammoth progress. A lot of people have given up their spaces. Hot desking is now the in thing, and the stakeholders have also tasted one thing, that even if people do not work out of the office, still the productivity is high. So going back to those fancy days of having big offices, lawn tennis court in the office, and gaming room and gyms, I don't think those days, at least in coming 2-3 years, gonna come. What happens after that, I think probably it's a long horizon to talk about. But in immediate requirement, the point which I am making is that the complete platform where you used to talk about employee experience has changed. Your blackboard or whiteboard is now blank. So until unless you don't converse about what is the employee experience, you will not be able to define, neither you'll be able to engage employees. Now, I'll just refer to Tar Watson survey of 2021, when we were almost coming out of COVID. 92% of the employees who participated said that for them, the most important thing about the organization which they choose to join is going to be what kind of employee experience they give. So that's incredibly large number. 92% means almost everyone is wanting to have a greater employee experience. Now, being in HR as a as a part of the fraternity, you need to define. You need to define, because until unless we all know there are performance metrics. What is not identified, what is not defined, cannot be measured, cannot be achieved. So if we are talking about employee experience, and if we are talking about its importance to the organization, it's definitely you need to speak and concretize it. You have to first talk about what are actually you running after. So it is very, very important for having a conversation about employee experience, and your best appraisers are your people. So rather than talking on platforms, or for that matter panels, it's best to go and check with your entire diverse set of people. How does your junior staff think? What your senior staff think? What your middle management thinks? What are your baby boomers thinking? What are your millennials thinking? And you need to, and those days are gone. One size fits for all. You will have to create customized, engagement initiatives, employee experience initiatives for all the people in your organization. Of lately, especially in the compensation, there is a very strong advocacy which has started coming about flexicity. Now, just for the knowledge of the group here, if I am a millennial, I may not require probably a big top-up insurance, or probably for that matter, maybe a car allowance. So I get to choose whether I want to take a gym membership, or do I want to take a Mediclaim. I may be happy with only the coverage which my company is giving. I would not want to go for top-up. So that's what I'm saying, that one size fits for all will no more work. We'll have to come up with various opportunities where people have choices to make which aligns with their need and their experience.
Yeah, very valid. So I think I'm glad that you brought this up. And so since we are already talking about employee experience, according to you, where are organizations lacking in terms of providing a good employee experience?
So I think all starts with I'll give a very crude example. Almost we all have visited a railway station, and in railway station there is always a "May I help you" counter where nobody is manned. so the biggest failure, or for that matter miss, what anybody as such an organization or an organization representative does is you propagate or you say that we hear, we listen to you, but you don't create enough opportunities. So it is very important to create visible avenues where you give your employees a freedom to speak, a freedom to share, a freedom to talk about that what exactly they want. So that's one lacuna which we have. The second lacuna is actually outcome of the same thing. Uh, you may design your organization in a manner where you have created platforms for people to come and tell you what they want, but you actually as an organization don't take it to a closure. Then that is even more detrimental for the organization than not asking. If you don't ask and don't give, no problem, some people will forgive you. But if you ask and then don't give, then it is a much bigger problem. So the organization should always have a clear intent that what am I gonna ask and what is my offering post that ask. So I should be prepared to deliver what I'm asking, and if people come back and ask something, how do I close it? Even if you don't have, as an organization, have a appetite to close it, you still need to go and close that loop. How do you do it? The mechanism, I leave it to the organizations, but you need to go and close the loop with your employees and say, we can't do this because of XYZ reason. While you had advised this, while this came in the climate survey, or while this came in the town hall, while this happened in a focus group discussion, but we cannot do this for XYZ reason. Another most important aspect to this exercise is the time gap between your response and your stimulus should not be really wide, because that keeps your employees anxious, and to an extent it can create a grapevine where people would think that I may not get an answer to it. So that's why I think fire chats and fireside chats and open town halls are something which probably are very efficient mechanisms till the time you give a closure to any question which is being asked or delivered. So I think these are 2-3 things which are very important. Another aspect where we go wrong as an organization is, while we all talk about transparency and trust, uh, it's hardly prevalent in the organization. So leaders should take very conscious calls to encourage people and believe in the system, and they should feel that the environment is trusted and the environment is transparent. For that, there are a lot of initiatives I don't have to explain, but the more direct communication from the leaders of the organization happens, the more transparent and trustworthy environment it creates. Because the more number of levels, and we all have played those Chinese whisper games, the more levels, the more dilution to the communication will happen. So that's my thought there.
Wonderful, sir. Thanks for sharing your thoughts once again. Also, sir, this was about employee experience, right? Like, how do we handle it and how do we initiate and all of that. But can you please help us understand how HR practices can contribute towards better employee engagement?
So, this is a very cliche answer, but whenever somebody asks that what role the HR department plays in the organization, and most of the people actually talk about that they are the culture carriers, or they are the culture catalysts. I think it is very important for us to start, uh, you know, uh, proving to what has been propagated all this while. While the HR department is responsible for policies, for processes, for manpower planning, we get so much stuck into the transactional aspect that the real transformational aspect doesn't come out. I think HR should only focus 20% in the transactional aspect. The 80% should actually go in culture building, driving meritocracy, enabling professional development for people. We have to ensure that what our leaders have a vision actually gets implemented within the organization, because it's very easy for a CEO to come and say that we want to be the most profitable organization. But how do you become a profitable organization? Ultimately, you have to drive it through the resources which you have. And there are only two resources, right? Capital and human. The capital resource is limited, but human resource is unlimited. It's always said that the human resource is directly proportional to the motivation. The more motivated your people are, the more you will reap benefit out of it. And how do you motivate people? You motivate people. Employer employee relationship is also a relationship, and any relationship without trust and transparency is weak. So one that is very important, which will if you drive trust and transparency, teamwork will automatically start coming, which will make you a robust organization. Second, reward responsibly. So you definitely have to have a very fair assessment system and an assessment process to ensure that we reward people who are achievers, and there is a fair exercise which runs. So when I say fair, it doesn't mean that you go and tell everybody's rating to everyone, but at the same time create focused groups, run assessment centers for entire year, ensure that you have more platforms of reward and recognition. So HR has almost all the role to play there, to ensure that how do we contribute to better employee experience and engagement.
Sure, sir. So I think at this point of our discussion, we all agree that employee engagement is directly impacting the employee performance, right? So in that case, what are the best strategies that you would recommend to HR leaders to adopt in 2023 to improve their employee performance?
So as I said, that the more it is becoming virtual, the more it is and this is a very different set of people post pandemic. The entire I would probably use in need of a word, I will use nirvana is something what most of the employees have attained. So people are more aware, people are more conscious about what they are doing, where are they investing their time, whom they are working with. So there will be a significant increase in the weightage of employee development. And then when I say employee development, it is overall employee development and well-being. How balanced as an organization you can be, what do you, in 3 years time, where do you take that individual? You will it's very difficult now to ask a person to work for 3 years in the same role. And especially with the Gen Z, you can't have that conversation. They don't see 3 years. They want to understand, in next 6 months, how do I progress my career? Where do I go? What is my overall upliftment? So I think employee development is something which should be the key focus. That answers your 2-3 problems: your succession planning problem, your overall work-life balance problem, and overall employee engagement and development problem. Second, I will again re-emphasize on the reward responsibility. Meritocracy is something which is very, very important, and how many times, and probably we write on the compensation statement that this is privileged, private, confidential information. But the truth is that there are so many. We are working in the world of hierarchy, right? Almost everything is on the net. So no, you can't fool an employee today. You can't go and say you are well paid or you are being paid as per your performance. They will clearly gauge out. They will clearly get it. So transparent, meritocratic organization is something what people will look forward to, and especially when virtual is real now. Almost all organizations create virtual platforms which make you feel as a real participation. This meritocracy is gonna be more and more important, because now you don't have people to in front of you, or you are not spending those pockets of times which probably were informal authority, informal intimacy, or for that matter engagement used to be there. That is gone. When you have to talk to people, you have to schedule a meeting and then speak. So the more transparent, the more meritocratic we are, the better it is.
Sure. And also, sir, do you see any challenges in implementing all of these? Basically, what could be the challenges in implementing the employee engagement initiatives within the organizations?
Sure. So one is definitely it's a perpetual challenge which stays with almost all organizations, except few who are really doing well. So employee development and culture development is not a tangible asset to an organization. So when you have to carve out cost associated to these things, it's the most difficult. When you talk about sales promotion activity, I will generate XYZ% higher revenues. Similarly, when you go with an HR initiative, and because humans are so complex and so unpredictable, you can't go and tell your board that I am investing XYZ $1,000, or for that matter a crore of rupee in employee development, and I can assure you 2% downward trend of an attrition. You can't, right? So it becomes more and more difficult. So that's one challenge, which is the biggest challenge, always has been there. The second thing is that we are dealing with a population now who has gone through a transformation. So there is a mindset change which has happened. Now, with this mindset change, if you have to leverage on your old traditional employee engagement activities, then also you have to take them back, take them to a stage from where they have actually evolved, which is the last thing what you would want to do. But because everything is new, you have to deal with the change management. How do you ensure that you create the same equation with the people, the same trust with the people? For example, of lately, in last 2 years, there were organizations who said, we'll not do performance management, right? Now, while it's easier said than done, when you don't do a performance management, then people are clueless. They don't understand that what is the benefit of doing away with it. So when you implement a new system, when you implement a new thing, you have to have that conviction. So that's another challenge which will be there in employee engagement, because you are dealing with a complete mindset shift, people. And of course, inclusivity is something which is becoming more and more bigger challenge with all the people born post 2000 coming into the work stream, because your diversity has increased significantly. Today, especially at your middle management and senior management level, it's a very different generation which sits, who has to work with a very different kind of generation down. So that also becomes a bigger challenge, because your people who are actually responsible to vet what employee engagement initiatives you would run is actually not for masses, but for them. For that matter, I'll just give you an example. There are so many organizations who are struggling to understand why do you have to move away from dress codes. But that's how the if you actually observe the millennials, they prefer being casual or being in a casual dressing. But that doesn't mean that they work casually. I think they are more sincere and more dedicated and more clear about their thought process, where they want to be. So I think these three things are the most important challenges: diversity, mindset, and definitely the cost, which needs to be invested in culture building and employee development.
Sure, sir. I think it all again boils down to, like you rightly mentioned already, one size doesn't fit all.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, sir, I would just like to take this discussion down to one level deeper. So, all this while we just discussed about the HR practices, the employee engagement, and such stuff. Now, the role comes of the organizational leaders. So how can organizational leaders help in overcoming these challenges? Because as we all know, we already know that how crucial the role of organizational leaders is to improve the work experience for the employees in the organization, right? So how can they help us to overcome these challenges now?
I think it's a fantastic question, Rashmi, because there are plethora of examples. Steve Jobs, Ratan Tata, Narendra Modi. You name a leader who's significantly visible, and you can understand that there is a very strong, I would say, very strong responsibility of a leader to ensure that how you can overcome the challenge. Because if as a leader we don't believe in the cause, or probably believe in the challenge, you will not solve it. First, you have to have that belief. How do you solve that problem for people? One, communicate more and more. Be approachable. That is the most appreciated trait which I have in my 20 years of HR career seen. Every organization where you have people, especially organization leaders who are approachable, and there has been open door policy as a great practice across the globe, and that's why probably now an open office culture is also being promoted. So it is very important and crucial for organization leaders to to ensure that you create that employee experience. Because you may say we are an open organization, you can reach anyone, but if somebody has to come and meet you, he has to first take an appointment from your secretary. It's not exactly what you are preaching, you are practicing, right? So practice what you preach, communicate more, walk the talk. And as a leader, I always have to ask the right questions, because if I am not convinced with something, so there is a very crude way of saying it, that either you do the last rites or you show me the person is alive. So any idea, anything, if you have to get bought on, ask the right questions, get convinced, or straight away say no. Never do anything half-heartedly. And these are three things which probably the leaders need to ensure in the organization to ensure that these challenges are overcome.
Sure, sir. So I think it also reinforces the fact that not just communicate, but communicate effectively, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this, sir. Now let's move a little bit towards our L&D, the training and development, the learning aspect of it, and something related to that. So now I would like to hear from you, how can L&D and DIB initiatives help in creating a strong work culture that in turn positively affects the employee experience?
Sure. So, I think this is something which probably, as I said, has always been debated and always been asked. But L&D and DEIB both have stood the test of time. If there was no essence in having L&D, probably that department would have died by now. So the fact is that because it's not instant dhokla, you can't show that, this is where I invest and here is where the productivity goes. It becomes a little challenging for for the board, or for the matter organization leaders to invest in that. And that's why it is even more important for the HR department to derive metrics which can drive a culture of a constantly learning organization. So L&D is very important, and that's why it is almost ingrained now in most of the organization KRAs to develop people within the organization. Now, as an individual, as I said, there is a generation gap. The new set of professionals who are coming, and especially the evolved people who are coming now, they look forward to an investment from the organization side for my professional journey, my professional growth. Now you don't get too many people who would want to stay at the same level for or in the same role for 3 years, 4 years. Every 2 years there is a a change of environment which people now expect. So if you enable that, that can be only enabled by L&D if you are talking about development. If your L&D department is strong and stable, is a constant learning organization, it is definitely going to turn the employee experience very well. One aspect which we have to highlight, which, as I have been saying, that one size doesn't fit all. The attention span has now gradually got reduced for almost all people. So traditional learning programs, 3 days offsite and 2 days workshop and all that doesn't appeal people now more. So having more snippet learnings, bite-sized learning, gamification is something which is the new age technology, which is the new age learning, which should help in employee engagement. I don't want to stretch too much on diversity. I think all of us know very well what importance is there for diversity and inclusivity. Um, we still have to travel some distance especially in the Indian market, to evolve more on diversity. We still, for a very major set of people, diversity only means a right ratio hiring between men and women, which is beyond that. I think diversity is more to do with uh, respecting, including various thoughts, and it may come from anywhere, and whether you talk about cross gender diversity, whether you talk about cross generation diversity, whether you talk about cross culture diversity, I think all of that aspect creates a much stronger work culture.
Absolutely, sir. So I think audience already have started putting up their questions. So before I move there, I'll just ask one last question from my end, sir. So as you rightly said, we are evolving, right? It could be your employee perspective, organization leaders, HRs. We have to evolve. There's no other choice. So while this is happening, technology plays a very important role here, right? Would you throw some light on how can HR leaders track, measure, and analyze employee performance in 2023? And would you like to suggest some of the best tools available in the industry today?
So, even in the, in this aspect, I can very well say that it is never to do with the brand, or for that matter, who has been an early mover. I think the more customized, the more aligned HR tool is, that becomes more and more efficient for the organization. Uh, Before joining CLSA, I was a part of another investment bank, which was Namura, and I had spent around 12 years there. And this is pre-pandemic. Even normal Excel tools can, or for that matter, there are lot of open source codes which are available, which can be used for various kind of analytics. So we had created a predictive attrition model, which surprisingly was a very effective tool for us to understand that what are the focus groups where we need to focus, understand, and increase engagement. Which particular section, or which particular age, or what particular stage, which employee will become vulnerable to attrition. And there were various factors which used to feed into that. Of course, we used R to create that model. But what I am trying to say here is that the more flexibility you get from a vendor, the more flexibility you get from a service provider, that is the best service provider for you, rather than me picking and telling that this is a good tool, that is a good tool.
Sure, sir. So, thank you for sharing your valuable thoughts here, sir. I'm sure the audience have definitely gathered a lot of information from this discussion on this buzzing topic. So now we will head towards the audience questions. The very first question I can see is what you have just answered. One of our attendees would also like to know which are some of the digital platforms that provide a seamless employee experience. So I think it is the same. So I'm assuming that your answer also remains the same. So if you would like to add up anything here.
So I will make it a little simple to understand. I think first we need to identify that what am I chasing. You can't buy a success factor, or for that matter, greytHR, or for that matter, ambition box, or for that matter, you can't just buy something because it is available. You have to first introspect, understand what is my need. do I really need? Like for that matter, as I said, I had a front office as well as a captive for CLSA, which is in Pune. The captive is in Pune and the front office in Bombay. My front office is 75 people. I don't need an analytical tool for 75 people to understand what is the trend of attrition, where is it going. Do I need a recruitment module to to look at this 75 people? 50% of the front office hirings happen by references. Why do you need a tool? But when I will look at my captive, that's much bigger a setup. There is a more number of people, there is more requirement, there is more inflow. I may need it there. So what I'm trying to make here is assess your need and then identify who are the vendors who are strong in that area. And then you actually step in and explore that whether that vendor can actually provide what you want, and is it customizable, it is feasible for you to onboard it for your organization.
Sure. So I hope that answers the question. Also, the next questions, I think you have actually addressed it, but I would also like to add my question as well here. That is how to drive a smooth employee experience in a virtual environment and a hybrid setup.
So what has got missed in last 2 years or 2.5 years is the experience what an employee gets is different with different individuals. I may not be in a good mood. I may not talk to the employee, whether onboarding or an existing employee, with that much zeal and passion. But a system will never do that. It will never create I would say mood swings within it. So I think it is very important to create virtual experience. You may run a personal experience, but at the same time, your basic processes, your basic things should be virtually also available. Make it more interactive, make it more user friendly, GUI friendly, gamified, gamify your policies, processes. I'm sure it will help. Now, and nowadays there are so many chatbots which are there. There are so many off-the-shelf chatbots which are there, which almost solve all the basic queries which probably an employee will have. I'm just using an example. These are certain things which probably can make a seamless experience or uniform experience for everyone. I hope that answers, Rashmi.
Sure, sir. Thanks for answering that. Also, one of our attendee would like to know, at this current scenario, should we encourage taking up all the asks of employees?
All the ask of employees.
Right, yeah.
So, as I said, resources will always be limited, and somewhere we'll have to identify. So when I spoke about, in the earlier part of my conversation, when I spoke about meritocracy, I spoke about the same thing, reward wisely. So if you accommodate all the ask of employee, then you are not rewarding wisely. You need to have the bang for the buck, because if you don't do that, you will soon get exhausted with the resources you have, and all of us are answerable. Everything ultimately hits the P&L. So where you are investing, what you are giving needs to get you the value out of it.
Sure, sir. Also, sir, since you already brought up this reward strategy, one of our attendees would like to know a few reward strategy examples, if it can be shared.
So reward strategies, I think, I'm a very big fan of a 360-degree reward strategy. I am also a very big fan of self-driven reward strategy. So when I say self-driven reward strategy, of course, it cannot be done for people at a junior level, but at a senior level, for that matter, it is very evolved as a system. You choose your own number, and it is predominantly prevalent in revenue generating organizations. So I have a X. I have X salary, and I have a factor which is associated with it. I may choose that this is my compensation this year, and I will generate this kind of revenue. Now that's one very empowered reward strategy which is there, which probably you can use it for your senior management. And I have run it for some organizations in my career, and it gives a very fair system. People are very good at self-averaging. Everybody knows what the person is contributing. It's just that you have to empower them. That's one. The second is when I said 360-degree, I think it is very important for you to have a right balance between your peers, your juniors, your seniors, and so the overall ecosystem should ensure that you factor the right set of people, and you tell the incumbent that what value or what environment you are creating, and it should get linked to your reward system. There are so many organizations who have, by choice 360-degree mechanism. There are so many organizations who have force-fit 360-degree mechanism. The only one thing which you have to keep in mind is that keep it as opaque as possible if you want real feedbacks to come, and if you have to link it to your reward system.
All right. So I hope that answers the question. By the way, that was very interesting, sir. I was just lost in hearing that. All right. So I'll just go to the next question. So one of our attendee would like to know how to curate unique employee experiences. Are there any specific touch points? Also would like to know how to measure the success of employee engagement initiatives. And can you share some of the best employee experience initiatives?
Sure. So, as I said, there are certain initiatives which may be old, but they are very effective. I think stay interview is a very strong framework and employee experience activity. One, it helps you drip feed. A climate survey may not give you the right input, but a drip feed always gives you a very important input. Focus group discussions are another very effective, impactful employee engagement initiative. You always, I'll just borrow from Gallup. This model has been successful for humongous number of years, and it still stays equally successful. This is for the answer which probably the person who asked the question wanted. So refer to Gallup framework. Q12 is a very strong framework. How you use the Q12 will totally depend upon your organizational maturity index, where exactly your organization is. Just for information, there are 4 quadrants to it. One is, what do I give, what do I get, do I belong, and how do I grow? So ye 4 bucket are there in Gallup, and if you associate with it, you'll realize that what is the kind of engagement initiative you need to run in all of that. If I start saying initiatives, there will be 200 initiatives, but you have to check and see what is suitable for you. In certain organizations, only pat on the back may work. In certain organizations, only stronger incentives may work. In certain organizations, maybe only development may work. In certain organizations, it may be a mix and match. So that's I think the answer to the question what was asked.
Sure. Thanks for answering that, sir. Our next question is one of our attendee would like to know, how do you create a good employee experience for employees who are yet to join a particular organization? As in, how do we keep them engaged prior to their joining?
Absolutely. So I'm sure almost all of us have experienced our first job. There is one from the campus and there is one which is outside the campus. So I clearly remember, and I still know that tangible experiences create a lot of impact. Now, when I say tangible experiences, when you are going to a campus or you are trying to hire someone, make that meeting count. So now make that meeting count is, if you have identified that person, given the offer, give certain branded stuff, give certain associated thing, remind the person of the organization brand. So step one, that from day one, it makes you associated even before you are joining. There are various nice, I would say, initiatives which and this was back in Namura days, which was there. So you one day at your convenience, once you are shortlisted, you get to come and meet your manager and interview him if you have any questions. And that is pre-joiner engagement. The person comes, experiences the floor. That kills the anxiety of the person. Am I going at the right place? Am I going in the right company? So show the person the place around. This is the cafeteria, this is the parking place, this is this is the team where this is the floor where your team sits. And of course, many organizations will have restrictions where you cannot take people to inside the floor, but definitely you let one or two people from the team come, or for that matter the manager come, and let it be because an interview engagement is very different compared to what is post on onboarding. The second thing, what these are two things. The third thing what you can do is, you can also send certain I would say policies, brief policies, snippets, which the organization offers, because as is the offer letter has some details, but there are multiple clarities which the employee may want to see. What is the kind of leave you offer? What is the kind of mediclaim do you offer? So that is also important. Third is, every 15 days there should be one call from the HR team, which should go, while most of us do it, but there should be empathy and warmth in the call, which will ensure that you have a stronger engagement. Fourth, you can assign a buddy to the person, which can be from the team, exchange personal numbers, and let the person be in touch for any kind of thought or question the person has. So while these are four, but there are many more initiatives what you can do with the new joiners.
Sure, sir. I'm sure this helps a lot. Thanks for answering that. And also, one of our attendee would like to know about the L&D program, sir. So the question is, how do we identify the need for having a L&D program? And is it through a survey with team leaders, or should we have one-to-one with people, like one-on-one sort of thing?
So that's a very vast field. Learning and development in itself is a very expanded horizon, but every learning has two aspects. One is a self-discovery. Another is how does my stakeholder look at me? So there are certain blind spots which we all have. It's almost impossible for people not to have blind spots. So there will be certain aspects which will be not be visible to me, but will be visible to my peers and my seniors, or for that matter, my juniors. So, of course, taking a learning input from these stakeholders is also important, but mostly the person should be self-reflective and do a journey, self-journey, to understand that what are the kind of needs the person has. Uh, uh, on the mechanism of learning delivery, as the second part of the question, uh, off-the-shelf learning may not help. It's always important to curate learning experiences, and the best thing is that, and I have found the most effective tool of learning is drama-based learning. So, situation-based learning and drama-based learning. So if you do a drama-based learning, people actually live that moment and understand it. Situation-based learning, you can run assessment centers, you can run stimulation workshops. And the third most effective is reflective learnings, which are generally associated with either neurolinguistic programming or psychometry, or for that matter, strong, or for that matter, MBTI to start with, Pyrobi. So these are certain things which generate faith. Now, say when I generate faith, psychometric tools are non-biased tools. When you do a psychometric assessment, you tell the person that this is your assessment, and you have identified that this is your area of development. At least this is what the score says. Then you either agree or disagree with your, either assessor or coach or, whoever is there. And then you define a journey for yourself.
All right. Yeah, thanks for answering that, sir. Also, dear participants, I understand I have eaten up extra 7 minutes of yours. So sorry for that. But I'll just take up one last question. And if any of your questions are unanswered, please don't be disappointed. It's just due to interest of time. All right. So also after the session is done, you can still reach out to us and get your answers. So I'll share the mail ID as well. But let me just take up this one last question, sir. The question is, what is your view on using AI tools for employee engagement? How relevant it is for small organizations?
So generally, AI tools are very effective. The only thing is that for AI, we are at a very nascent stage, because, and people who are familiar with AI, I think it's a constant learning platform. The more number of queries go, the more number of responses get generated, the more efficient and effective the AI tool will become. For smaller organizations, I think it is very beneficial if you can get something which is, and if it doesn't breach your data confidentiality thing and you can share data, I think it's a fantastic thing, because smaller organizations are resource crunched. Mostly, everybody is, but smaller organizations are more resource crunched. AI tool will take a lot of load off you, because it will give you saving of that time which you will generally want to not want to invest in basic questions. Like, for that matter, if you are a 300 people organization, and you have on an average probably 40 people joining every year, and I'm just considering your attrition rate to be 15-17%. Every year you have 40 people who will have questions on your policies. All these policy questions can be answered by an AI tool. So on an average per day, even if you have 2 to 3 questions being asked on policy front, and if you take on an average 10 minutes to answer one question, because of course you will not straight away, hello, yes, 21 leaves. That's not what will happen. If you are a HR person, you'll speak for a longer period and exchange greetings and all that. But an AI tool doesn't has that I would say limitation. So of course, as soon as you type a hi, it will respond to you with a greeting and a hi, but it will straight away answer the question which you want. So I think it is pretty efficient as a tool. We, if there are no data sharing restrictions with service providers, you should buy some off the shelf, AI tools and implement it.
Sure, sir. So I hope that answers the question. And also with this, we have come to end of our session and the discussion. If there are any questions, please don't worry. You can always write back to us. Also, you can reach out to us through our community called greytHR. So basically, greytHR is the knowledge sharing platform, the Q&A forum. So you can post your questions, and many HR peers from the industry will be answering your questions based on their experiences. So the link is already given here. So it's completely free of cost. Please try it out. I also, sir, would like to thank you once again for your valuable contributions in this discussion. You have certainly given us a lot of insight on HR practices, which has to be improved in employee when it comes to employee experience in the year 2023. And also, dear participants, thank you once again for joining us and for making it successful. If you have any more questions or any concerns related to this session, please write to us on the mail ID that you can see on the screen. The mail ID is rakigautam@greytip.com, and we will definitely get back to you. So we will see you soon in the next upcoming session with at another interesting topic. Till then, have a great time. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.